Okay, Dr. Dan Yachter, and thank you for joining me, whether live or the replay. And I'm going to cover what most people in our community think is a very important topic: hormones, thyroid, and of course, stress. And the reason we include all three of those, and that is the title of our master class coming up on Tuesday. It's going to be October 21st, 6:30 p.m. right here in the office. Hormone, thyroid, and stress masterclass. Again, I've been teaching these master classes going on almost, I guess, around 29 years. Actually, before that, too, as an intern and also in school, teaching and educating and presenting this information. So probably close to 30 plus years. And I can't tell you how many people talk to me about hormones throughout the day, thyroid issues. This morning I had multiple conversations about it. And that's why we conduct and host and present this master class twice per year. There are only 3 master classes that we actually rotate twice per year. And this is one of them because so many in our community suffer with hormonally related symptoms. And again, when we talk about hormones, we always include the thyroid in there, and stress related disorders. And as I'm going to share with you, I'm going to kind of give you the highlights, the overview, the high level points of what we're going to be covering at the master class, again, coming up this Tuesday. But we know this for a fact. It is stress that is the main player when it comes to hormones, hormone imbalance, all the things that come along with hormone issues, thyroid issues, weight gain, foggy brains, mood issues, hot flashes. I mean, all of these other things that come along with, there's so many that come along with hormonal issues. And we're going to be talking about, why do these things happen along the way? Is it simply because of the fact that we're aging? Is it the fact that you're maybe a woman who's leaving your cyclical years and going into the postmenopausal years? Like, what's at play here? And of course, there are many things at play, but without question, the overarching issue is stress. So let's talk a little bit about that, how that factors into the hormonal and thyroid equation. And again, give you multiple reasons to join us this upcoming Tuesday night. I promise you won't be disappointed. You carve out 90 minutes in your schedule, maybe a little bit less than that, and you will be enlightened. And again, if you're not really overly concerned with hormonal issues or suffering with what may be hormonally related issues, you may just want to come just to gain the knowledge, because what we're going to be talking about is just how to be healthy overall, how to keep the body healthy for life. And that's what all the master classes are really focused upon. How do you get the body healthy? How do you keep it healthy? How do you stay healthy for life, whether you're a man or woman or child? All of the information really goes in one direction, and it's moving you toward a healthier life. So let's go ahead and jump into the information. And again, part of the issue with hormonal issues, thyroid issues, many times hormonal issues just in general, many people are just told that there are no answers for them. Many times it's in their head, that just got to deal with it. There are no answers. There are no solutions. Or worse yet, take a medication to cover up or mask the symptoms. So getting into some of the high-level things we're going to be discussing at the master class, first and foremost, there's just to know that there are, what we'll be discussing on Tuesday night, over 50 plus hormones in the human body. And there is one that has the most dramatic impact on all of the others, and it's known as cortisol. Cortisol is always present in a certain amount, a certain quantity in the body, helps regulate the immune system, blood pressure. It helps regulate blood sugar. It's involved with a lot of very important processes just on a normal basis. However, under fight or fight, flight, freeze situations, sympathetic, adrenaline rush type of scenarios, acute stress, chronic stress, especially when the body's revved up in a constant state, cortisol goes up and stays up and stays high. And when it goes up, what happens is, and I guess the best analogy to give you would be, think about just a regular road that you regularly travel. Just say around here, it's say you're out on Lake Mary Boulevard or Highway 46 out there, and you're just driving along, and all the cars are moving along with you. And along with those cars, you have maybe some police cars, you have some sheriff cars, you have maybe there's a fire truck or ambulance. Maybe like these things are just on the road. Everything's flowing. Well, all of it's moving together. And think of the ambulance and the fire truck and the police officers, maybe the sheriff's cars, like those, that's like the cortisol. However, in regular situations, everything's just flowing together. All these vehicles, including yours and all the other regular vehicles, they're just moving down the road together. However, if there's an emergency, fire or an ambulance, or there's a 911 call, what's going to happen? Well, hopefully this happens. Well, the sirens go off on the fire truck, the ambulance, the cop cars. They are moving along, and the road is now prioritized for them. It should be, at least. And if you're a regular driver, you should see the sirens, hear the sirens, or see the flashing lights, and you should pull over. And now the road is totally prioritized for these emergency vehicles. And that's what happens in the body. Cortisol flowing along, these are the emergency vehicles flowing along normally, but in an emergency situation, fight or flight, all other hormones driving along the road, all 50 plus hormones are really pushed out of the way, and the entire metabolic pathway, the entire human physiology is reprioritized to really make cortisol the focus. Cortisol, the emergency vehicles. Now the road is for them. Now the bloodstream, now your physiology, your biochemistry, everything is prioritized for the elevated cortisol that's needed for the fight or flight situation. In most cases, it's chronic fight or flight. So what happens is, if you're in cortisol dominance, the road or the pathways are now prioritized for cortisol, testosterone, total, free, progesterone, estrogen, pregnenolone, a lesser known hormone, all of the hormones of the body, really, not just the sex hormones, are pushed out of the way for cortisol to be prioritized, because chronic stress signals fight or flight scenarios, and cortisol to be elevated to help you get through that fight or flight emergency situation. Cortisol also is involved with, telling the liver to manufacture a bunch of glucose, sugar, to be dumped into the bloodstream so you can run for your life. So what happens is now everything's skewed, and the pathways become prioritized again for cortisol. So we're going to be doing a deeper dive at the master class on that, but it all comes back to, all of the conversation comes back to how to control cortisol. That is the primary goal in balancing hormones, balancing the thyroid, and really just having a healthier life, a healthier body, a healthier mind, a balanced mind. And so shifting gears just over, or just kind of moving or turning the page over to the thyroid conversation, we talk about 4 major considerations to building a healthy thyroid, stabilizing your thyroid, and potentially, if you're on a thyroid medication, potentially coming off of it with the help of the doctor who put you on the medication, or just how to keep your thyroid healthy for life. Now, if you have an intact thyroid, it's pretty easy to address a thyroid imbalance or dysfunction. The easiest way to do it is to make sure that if there are deficiencies, nutrient deficiencies, resupplying the thyroid with what it needs to simply function the way it was built to function. So that's goal number 1. That's priority number 1. If you're experiencing a thyroid problem, or if your blood work showed a thyroid issue, if your doctor is telling you that you need a thyroid medication, how do you address it from a natural perspective? Number one, you got to resupply the nutrient needs of the thyroid. Priority number one: minerals, vitamins, nerve supply. See 5, 6, 7. You have nerve branches that are coming off the neck going into the thyroid. That's number one. So there are other considerations in making sure your thyroid's healthy. If you've had thyroid damage, if it's been removed, well, obviously there's issues here, but if it's intact, then you also have to make sure the gut is healthy, because 60-70% of the inactive T4 thyroid conversion occurs in the gut. And when we say in the gut, we're talking about the intestines, we're talking about the liver. The majority of the conversion of inactive thyroid hormone T4 to T3 happens in the gut. You have to have a healthy gut if you're going to convert inactive thyroid hormone to active thyroid hormone. And so we'll be discussing that and more at the Hormone, Thyroid, and Stress Master Class coming up on this upcoming Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. So again, the solution medically is when the hormones go skewed or imbalanced, or you go get a blood panel and these markers are off. The medical approach is injections. So we have a combination of things that are being done medically. The most popular now are pellets, being I kind of just just jokingly call it's buckshot to the butt. They shoot these pellets into the butt, testosterone, estrogen, whatever it may be. So you have pellets, pellet therapy, you have injections, you have creams, you have medications you can take orally, and this is how hormones are addressed medically, still leaving the cause untouched or unaddressed. And so, you have low T clinics, you have, estrogen that's being shot into the body. And what you're going to learn at the master class is, if, again, the true cause of the imbalance is not addressed, you're still left with the problem. So we're going to talk about the life cycle of a male's hormones, what they should look like during the course of a male's life, the normal female cycle of hormones throughout a lifetime, why medications, whether they're female or male based, why medical therapeutic interventions can cause significantly more problems, again, if the root cause of the imbalance is not addressed. We're going to talk about natural ways to address hormone and thyroid imbalances. Again, a lot of it comes back to stress. So we're going to talk about why medical interventions are so dangerous, can be so dangerous, and they can lead to disease development. We're going to talk about the gut's involvement in hormone balance, why it's so important. And again, the major topics that we cover, we talk about at the masterclass: chiropractic adjustments, nervous system involvement, the critical importance of sleep, circadian rhythm in hormone balancing. If you don't get this lifestyle hierarchy right, get it dialed in, bring balance to the body, and really approach the body from this natural, strategic way, the body, no matter what you do, whether it's natural or medically, interventions, pharmaceutically based interventions, if you don't address cause and bring lifestyle interventions into rebalance, you're going to create more imbalance. So again, the major strategies we discuss at the masterclass: nervous system, chiropractic adjustments, making sure the systems that's regulating hormonal balance in the body is healthy. That's the nervous system, and it runs through the spine. That's why we talk about chiropractic adjustments, getting the spine back into alignment, sleep, circadian rhythm, stress management, whether it's in the way of scripture, support, network, friends, family members, counseling, whatever modality you need to bring in to balance your stress. It's important proper movement, exercise. We talk about diet and primarily balancing your blood sugar. Blood sugar, if left imbalanced or skews, blood sugar issues can have a destructive effect on hormonal balance, especially for a male, and especially for testosterone balance. We talk about testing. How do you know how to test your hormones properly? We'll talk about the right panel. What does a proper panel, a blood panel, look like? We're going to talk about how do you get the liver and the gut balanced? How do you detoxify the liver so the liver can work normally to keep your hormones balanced? We talk about supplements that can help with stress, herbal supplements. What are the best ways to support your body supplement-wise? And of course, adrenal supplementation is very important because the adrenal glands have a lot to do with stress management. We talk about medications and also the importance of speaking with your doctor to see which medications can be eliminated if possible, because medications cause massive hormonal imbalances. And then, of course, we talk about the importance of continuing being armed with the right knowledge. There is more than one side of the story. It's not just medical interventions. There are natural ways to support the body when it comes to hormones, stress, and thyroid. So we will cover so much at the masterclass, including the Dutch test. The Dutch test is a way in our office, we do a lot of testing, a lot of blood work. We can do our own draws. We have our own labs that do draws for us. And we can look at any marker, any panel. So the way we look at hormones, if we're going to go to the lab testing, is we look at blood, we look at saliva. We also look at, many times we do stool samples in terms of GI mapping. But the premier hormonal testing that we utilize is a urine test called the Dutch test, dried urine test with comprehensive hormones. And what it's actually looking at, something different than just a blood draw can look at, is how the hormones are being metabolized through the body and being urinated out. So we look at like just simply all the metabolic steps and pathways, and by seeing how the hormones are being metabolized through the body, you can learn a ton about really what's going on, rather than just having one value, one blood value, what's happening as these hormones are being metabolized, how they're being detoxified through the liver and the gut. We look at phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification in the body. And by looking at hormones blood-wise, you can get a lot of information. It's important. It's very helpful. But I always use the metaphor that if you're just looking at the blood hormones, which again is standard, and that's pretty much what happens if you go to a medical office and they're looking at your hormones, that's equivalent to, walking by a bookstore and looking into the bookstore and looking at the books, rather than looking at something more comprehensive like a Dutch test, where you actually walk into the bookstore, open up the book that you're looking at, and you read the story. And so it's powerful if you have the blood markers. However, if you have something like a Dutch test looking at the urine metabolites, then you could actually have a doctor that's reading your story, that's actually reading your hormonal, thyroid, metabolic story, your biography. And that's what we do in our office. And again, we're going to break that down at the master class. So there's hope for those who have hormonal thyroid concerns, want to understand how stress plays in to the picture. And there's so much that can be done, especially naturally. So again, stress mastery, lowering cortisol. How do you do that? We're going to talk about sleep architecture. How do you optimize your sleep environment so your body, your brain, your cortisol, your adrenals, your body can really heal of the stress that you're under? We cannot get away from stress. We all have physical, emotional, chemical stressors coming at us, and there's no way to escape it. But there are ways to create greater resiliency to that stress. Sleep is a big part of that. We're going to talk about how to set up great sleep architecture, how to set yourself up for sleep success. Gut first thyroid care, how to heal the gut. What is the optimal dietary approach to healing the gut? Of course, fiber has a lot to do with it. Detoxifying the body, chiropractic neurology, testing, not guessing, doing the right testing as well. So mark your calendars, 6:30 p.m. this Tuesday. I personally will be teaching, yours truly, Dr. Dan Yachter, the chiropractor, will be teaching hormone thyroid stress management. This is a great masterclass. I want you there, and you will receive answers and understand maybe why your body is moving in a direction that you don't understand. Why is it doing these things? Why am I having these problems I never had before? Why am I losing hair? Why am I cold? Why do I have weight gain? Why do I have a foggy brain? Why do I just feel like my body's out of control, but yet my doctor tells me either it's all in my head or I'm not getting any answers at all, and it just keeps getting worse? If any of these things, if just one of these things is out of balance, your hormones, your thyroid, you're overloaded with stress, you're going to have problems. All of these things affect each other. And unless it's looked at as a holistic picture, not just one blood marker, you are not just one blood marker to be treated. You are a whole person that needs to be looked at in a holistic way and also tested properly. Your biography needs to be read properly and understood properly. And it all starts with that master class. When you come, you'll see the big picture, understand the big picture, and know that if you are struggling, there's hope for you. It all begins with knowledge. It all begins with that master class. And from there, the jump off point is testing and then moving forward from there and hopefully get you the help that you need. Or again, if it's not you, if you come, learn, get equipped, and maybe pay forward the knowledge that you get out of that master class. So this Tuesday, 6:30 p.m., Hormone Stress Management Thyroid Masterclass taught by yours truly, Dr. Dan Yachter. And I wanted to make a note or mention that our Patient Appreciation Day was an awesome success. I appreciate all who attended. We had a great time. Yesterday over lunch, we had a bunch of folks coming in and taking advantage of the consults and exams, and we just had a great time. So thank you to all who attended. And once again, I thank you for joining me for this segment of news, views, and weekly updates. Everybody have a great Wednesday, and we'll talk with you soon. God bless.